Does this one feel different? It seems as if there are some quite significant divisions, particularly between some core countries like the United States and France and Turkey.
Well, you do get issues. There seem more of them this time, Turkey, France and the United States. But NATO's always changed. It's adapted over the years to new challenges. And I think we need to remember that the threats we're facing are the same both sides of the Atlantic, whether it's, Russian aggression or whether it's the threat from cyber or whether it's any other kind of challenge. The same threat to security is on both sides of the Atlantic, and we do need to be working together on it.
Is China a NATO role? That conflict seems to be becoming greater and greater in everybody's consciousness. At the moment, it is a trade conflict, but it could easily become a military conflict. Does NATO have a global role that could include what happens with China?
Well, NATO is already global in the sense it's been operating in Afghanistan, for example. It's got a minor role in Iraq. And NATO is looking at the other domains now, getting into space and into cyber. So inevitably, I think NATO is going to become more global. NATO has partnership arrangements with Australia, for example, on the other side of the globe. So I do see NATO evolving, and that's the point. NATO has always changed, and it's dealing with things now it didn't deal with 30 years ago. We didn't have international terrorism on the scale that we're seeing it now. NATO has to respond to that as well.
Secretary, there are obvious schisms within NATO among the member countries, and clearly that's only going to continue, particularly post-Brexit and so on. Do you see those schisms ever going away? Do you see an alliance that's stronger, or do you see another EU military popping up?
Well, first of all, I think, it's a big alliance. It contains 29 countries now, so inevitably there are differences of view. But the threats to NATO now are really 360 degrees. So I think you'll find that whatever the differences are, we have more in common in meeting those challenges together. And really, there isn't a replacement. NATO is the only alliance that brings the United States and Canada together with the European allies. There's no other forum for doing that. And the EU can't do it. Some of the EU countries are neutral countries. The EU does not have a military structure. So in the end, I don't think there's any point simply duplicating NATO. We have to keep working at NATO, spend more on it, and continue to adapt it to the new threats of today.